We are focused on Microsoft Azure, presentation 104. This is an introduction of Azure that will give you information about what is Azure, how does it work, why is it relevant, and what are some of the benefits. Once again, this is going to be from a high-level perspective, and in the presentations that will follow throughout the remainder of the month, we will dive into this a little bit deeper. Before we get started into what is Azure and the introduction, I'd like to give a little bit of information about Opal Business Solutions. Opal has approximately 20 team members with a wide variety of technical expertise and certifications. Opal is also a Silver Enterprise Partner and CSP with Microsoft. Opal does its best to strive hard to serve as an extension of your team, helping you to design and deliver technology solutions to help you anticipate and overcome business challenges. With 2 offices on the East Coast, in Pittsburgh and Tampa, Opal provides quick and reliable products and services throughout the United States. Opal is able to provide one stop for your technology needs. Whether you're looking for enterprise-level hardware, small, medium business equipment, or even certified pre-owned equipment, Opal can provide the equipment that can meet your needs. Opal also provides CSP licensing on Microsoft applications while also customizing any software to meet your needs. Finally, Opal's network services team provides the expertise and knowledge to design, upgrade, and support your entire infrastructure. With Opal's team monitoring and maintaining your network, you will have the latest security protection and meet the industry verified compliances necessary to stay secure and safe within your industry. My name is Jay Hess. I am with Opal Business Solutions. I'm Vice President, and I'm going to walk you through the presentation today and give you information about Azure, get you familiar with it so you have an understanding of it as we continue on through the rest of the month's presentations. So let's begin our presentation, since many of you probably wonder what exactly is Azure. Depending on who you ask, you'll find people who believe Azure is cloud computing, where you take all of your computing, put it into the cloud, hosted somewhere else. Many people will tell you that it's storage or backup and recovery services. So your information that you have on premise, you end up sending it to the cloud and it's stored in Azure so that you have a redundant backup and disaster recovery plans. Others will say it's application hosting or development and testing. Everything that's done with an application or piece of software is done in Azure. And then you have the database experts who believe, well, that's where my data is going to be. The database is going to be housed so that the data can be stored, accessed, and it's safe and sound using Microsoft security technologies. And then you have identity and access management, things like single sign-on and so forth. Truth of the matter is, Azure allows you to easily integrate with a business on-premises or infrastructure and apps. So it's essentially your data center on demand. And this is where you can get all your infrastructure and services you can't or don't want to build and manage yourselves. So everything gets put into the cloud and you can manage those. So essentially, Microsoft is a collection of easy to use, integrated infrastructure and platform services in the cloud that helps you and your businesses of any size build, deploy, and manage solutions. In short, Azure is your business in the cloud. Everything you could possibly need or want for your business is available in the cloud. Everything from security management, user groups, Active Directory, single sign-on for up to thousands of Microsoft and non-Microsoft related applications, scheduled service management, encryption key storage, and VMs that can be spun up in an instance. You have web applications that can be built out there, websites, mobile backends. All of it can be developed, maintained, and kept in Azure. Your data can be stored out in Azure utilizing SQL or any other type of database. There's even databases that are built specifically for the Azure environment. Analytical data, the Internet of Things, storage, servers, desktops are now available to all be kept within the cloud, hosted out in Azure. So in order to have all of this data located out there, you can see it is a massive collection of services, and it's making it one of the most comprehensive cloud platforms on the planet. There's a lot of functionality that is out there available, and with this functionality, you need to be able to get to it at any given time. So how do you get to that and ensure that your business in the cloud is always accessible to you? Well, Microsoft has taken a step to ensure that stability and accessibility. They've done that by having 40 plus global Azure regions throughout the world. Through Microsoft's global network and the high performance data centers, and with partners like Opal, you're able to access your business at any time. Azure allows for true hyperscalability, the ability to provide services to you wherever you are, as well as reaching your clients wherever they may be. There's over 100 data centers in over 40 countries and regions. That equates to Azure being available and able to reach more customers than Amazon Web Services and Google Cloud combined. Hopefully, I've been able to present to you and give you an understanding of just how massive this offering is from Microsoft. And in order to understand it, there's probably, any infinite number of ways that you can structure your business and take advantage of what Azure has to offer. So what we're going to do is talk a little bit about how it works and how you can see this working for your environment. In order to do that, we're going to start with the foundation. Just like building a house, you have to have that foundation before you build the first and second floors on top of it. Most businesses are familiar with having all IT services on premise. It's what we see here. You have your servers, your storage, your network, middleware, data, applications, everything's in your office or your network room. However, more and more businesses are moving some or all of their IT infrastructure to Azure and to the cloud. One of the most basic categories of cloud computing services is infrastructure as a service. And you can see that the first step that many businesses take is towards this infrastructure as a service. You'll see them keep their data, their middleware, operating systems, and applications in-house on-premise where you manage them. And then cloud service providers such as Opal through the partnership with Microsoft and Azure manage the virtualization, the server storage, and networking out in the cloud. The next step up would be what they call platform as a service. With platform as a service, You get an on-demand environment for more for developing, testing, hosting, managing different software applications. So this is for organizations that have a lot of internal work that they're doing themselves to provide maybe developers or some customizations, and they want to offload a lot of that out to the cloud. So you'll see that applications and data stay locally and they're managed, and then the rest of it is put out into the cloud for the cloud service provider to maintain. Finally, we have what is called software as a service. software, software as a service. This is where a business would purchase a complete product, like an end user application that's run and managed by the provider. One of the best examples of software as a service, Office 365. Everything is in the cloud and so forth. You do have the capability to integrate it locally, but everything from middleware applications, data, and so forth are all stored in the cloud, maintained in the cloud, and everything is offloaded to the cloud. Recent studies show that many companies are adopting what's called a hybrid strategy. So somewhere in between the infrastructure as a service and platform as a service, more and more companies are starting to offload a lot of their virtualization, servers, storage out to CSP providers and putting them into something very similar to an Azure environment. Now, as you can see, with all these different options available, it really gets confusing on how a company may want to structure everything and utilize it within their environment in order to offload some of this, or what would be best for their particular company themselves. So with that said, we're going to take a look at how some companies may structure their businesses within Azure, and hopefully this will give you some familiarity, give you some examples of how Azure may be able to benefit your organization. The first is where we're going to augment some of the on-premise workloads with some cloud services. This is probably the first step most companies take to utilizing Azure. Excuse me. Backing up the data to the cloud. That's the simplest. You have all of your data locally. You want to make sure that you have a backup in case there's ever a disaster. So you go ahead and you back that up to the cloud. Put it into Azure. You know it will be there so that you can get it at any time. In addition to that, you may extend your Active Directory to Azure so that you can go ahead and utilize the single sign-on for those thousands of Microsoft and non-Microsoft cloud apps that I've mentioned earlier. Another way to structure this may be in a manufacturing type environment where some of the workloads are in the cloud, but you keep some on premise. So you're moving more and more to the cloud. Here, you're probably going to keep your file servers and your print servers on premise, but you're going to do your backups to Azure and utilize the Azure Site Recovery for that disaster recovery. You're going to run some virtual machines, so some virtual servers in Azure, so that you can leverage the high availability and scalability. And that's one of the nice things about Azure is it has the 99.9% high availability and scalability. So you know those machines, whether it's a database machine, a web application machine, those are always going to be available to you. And they're going to be structured in a way so that if you need more resources on that server, it will automatically scale so that you never experience any slow time during the use of those servers. You're going to have Office 365, which, as we've already mentioned, is a cloud-based application. And that's going to increase your productivity by shifting those productivity workloads to a lot of the automated functionality that is built within Office 365. And then once again, extend that local Active Directory into the cloud for the single sign-on. The final one is modernizing your IT infrastructure into the cloud. This would be something that utilizes more and more of your applications, probably everything into the cloud. So move your entire business to Azure. And what we're looking at is taking Office 365, Active Directory, every server, files, virtual machines, desktops, whatever it is that you can think of, and we're going to move that to Azure. What that means is, I've mentioned desktops. It means that as long as you have internet access, you can easily control the applications, the data, the content, everything that a person would see on their desktop, because they can go through the internet, use a username and password to sign on, and they'll have their desktop right in front of them in the cloud. No more having to worry about buying, is this machine strong enough or bulky enough to run heavy loads. Let Azure do it as they need it by having scalable desktops right within the Azure environment. All they need is a machine that can quickly access the internet. So you can see that Azure creates the flexibility to quickly and cost effectively, as well as provide flexibility for any type of business that may be out there. And for as much cloud applications in servers and so forth that you would like to utilize, Azure creates that opportunity for you to take advantage of that infrastructure or that backbone that Microsoft has created. And how do you create that and maintain that? Well, this is the first glimpse into how Azure would work. And I took a few screenshots of the dashboard and the interface that Azure provides. You can see that it's always monitoring, keeping track of how much data, how many resources, what is out there being utilized within the Azure environment. And in the bottom right-hand screen, we could even see how easy it is to just check off different boxes, go out and start adding or changing server settings, desktop settings, security, Active Directory. It's all from one location. No longer do you have to go and look at all the information and utilize different tools and resources. It's all from the Azure dashboard. The Azure dashboard we will go into in greater detail as we continue on through the series throughout the rest of the month. We'll actually take a look at how to walk through the dashboard, utilize some of the fundamentals, and go through that. So now that you have an understanding of how big it is, what it is, and how it works, why is this all important? Well, Microsoft Azure is the backbone to everything Microsoft. By turning to Microsoft Azure in the cloud, small and mid-sized companies can run their businesses obviously more cost effectively, paying only for what you use with no infrastructure investments. Azure can bring your products and services to market more quickly by providing infrastructures, services, management capabilities that aren't available typically within an in-house environment without a lot of work. As your customer demands grow, you'll be able to grow with new regions, expand more quickly, even put servers right in those locations where customers are accessing them if you so choose. With Azure, you get the enterprise-grade security, data protection that we've talked about. And those are the same security and data protection that a lot of the large companies are using today. You can tell all your customers that Azure is storing everything safely and securely for them. You have no worries. You can have peace of mind at the end of the night that if something happens, you can quickly spin up any of your data, recover your data, and have it accessible on a moment's notice. These are just some of the ways Azure creates a benefit to you. As I mentioned before, by creating that open platform, the hybrid capabilities that we talked about, and the security and the ability to scale on demand. So by moving to Azure, you'll notice that you have no infrastructure to buy. You have the right computing resources when you need them, as you need them. Your applications and your workloads will be up and running fast. As I mentioned before, once they're up and running, the scalability to go up and down is determined by how many resources are hitting the machines, hitting those applications, and whether or not the artificial intelligence built within the Azure recognizes that you need additional resources, and it will automatically add those for you. And when you're done using those additional resources, it'll pull those back and take you back down to the level that you need most of the time. That way you're only paying for what you use and what you need at that moment. So with no upfront cost, permanent billing, no charge for stopping VMs, once again, makes a logical choice economically, in terms of flexibility, and in terms of accessibility, to start thinking about Azure for some of your applications, if not for moving your entire business into the cloud. So at this time, throughout the presentation, if you've posted any questions, I'll be glad to read those out loud. Try to answer them to the best of my ability without going into too much depth. But off to the right, there's a chat box. If anybody has any questions, you can please feel free to enter those into the chat box. And as I mentioned, I'll be glad to try to answer those. Okay, I don't see any questions coming in at this time. So I'd just like to remind everybody that all of these videos and so forth are being recorded. You will be able to access those on the Opal YouTube channel. And please keep an eye out for any of our other presentations that we have coming up this month and throughout the year. Thank you again for your time, and have yourself a great day.